Okay, let's go ahead and pick up with chapter 17. We're almost finished with this book. Let's see what happens when the family returns from the flag raising ceremony and find Dara with John 2. And let's see their reaction. Here we go. Chapter 17 of The Clay Marble by Mingfong Ho. Here we go. I was still rocking the hammock when the others came back. Saroon was walking slightly ahead of Nia and Mother and seemed to be in a state of high excitement. He was saying loudly over his shoulder to them, "I don't care what the rest of you think. I'm going to enlist. I've made up my mind. It's the only patriotic thing to do." "Not so loud," I warned Saroon. "You'll wake them up." Jean-Tu and her baby brother lay quietly, curled together in the hammock. It seemed terribly important that they not be disturbed yet. I tugged at the hammock rope, careful to keep it swinging with the same gentle rhythm. Saroon ignored me. "Did you see the way hundreds of men enlisted after that speech?" he asked the others, his voice as strident as before. "Be quiet," I begged him. "You'll wake them up." Saroon glanced at the hammock. "So let them wake up," he said loudly. "Let them see what a real soldier looks like." He grabbed the rope from me and gave it a wild tug. "No!" I cried, trying to snatch the rope back from him. "Time to wake up," Saroon announced. I pulled the rope back from him, desperately trying to steady the hammock. But it was too late. The baby woke up wailing. I let go of the rope and watched it trail across the dust, following the hammock. "Wake up, Jean-Tu," I begged silently. "Please wake up." The hammock slowed down, little by little, until it stopped swinging and reached a complete stop. The baby kept wailing, but Jean-Tu did not wake up. As if in a dream, I watched Nia pick up the baby and comfort him. Then she bent over the hammock and reached out to touch Jean-Tu's cheek. I watched as a slow understanding dawned on Nia's face. She uttered a small cry. I watched as Mother and Grandpa Kim rushed to the hammock and looked inside. I felt numb, and though I was standing right there, I felt that I was very far away, as if I were watching it all from a great distance. Nia was crying now, her head buried in the baby's neck as he sobbed too. Saroon patted her back awkwardly, trying to comfort her. "She's gone," Nia was sobbing. "She's gone, and I want to go too. I want to go home. I want to go home." Like a kite string suddenly snapped in two and left to flail in the wind before dropping down, Nia went limp and helpless. Mother and Grandpa Kim stood quietly nearby too, stunned to do anything. "Nia's right," I said. "It's time to go home." "We can't leave right now," Saroon said. "Why not?" I asked. "Because I've decided to enlist as a regular in the army. That's why. I belong here now. I'm not going to leave." I felt the chill go through me. "Enlist?" I said softly. "You don't mean it." Saroon looked at me. "I do," he said. "Why?" "You wouldn't understand," he said. "It has to do with being a soldier, with defending the revolutionary cause. It has to do with a man's courage." It scared me how much I hated my brother then. I took a deep breath. "Courage?" I echoed. "You talk of courage? What courage does it take to shoot a girl walking home in the dark? What courage did it take to kill John too?" My voice broke, and I wanted to crumble up and cry too, the way Nia was doing. But Jean-Tu had told me to be strong. Jean-Tu had said I had to believe in myself. I looked into the hammock at her and saw the lump of clay still cupped in her hand. "You have to do it yourself," she had said. "You have to make your own magic marble." I bent over and picked up the clay. It was damp and cool and heavy. Hesitantly, I started to roll it between my hands, and as I rolled it, I began to feel calmer. "What about going home?" I said, my voice controlled now. "What about planting rice and raising a family? What about trying to live in peace when there is a war going on? Doesn't that take courage too?" Saroon avoided my eyes. "You're just a child, Dara," he said. "You wouldn't understand war." "Don't tell me I don't understand war," I said fiercely. My hands seemed to have a life of their own, kneading and rolling, shaping that cool ball of clay. "I understand that John-Tu will never wake up in that hammock again. I understand that Father will never come home to us again. I understand that war kills people who aren't even fighting in it. My eyes stung, and when I blinked, I could feel the threads of cool tears streaking my cheeks. But my hands were still shaping my marble, smoothing it, and I did not bother to wipe my tears away. What I don't understand, Saroon, is why you want to fight. You said you'd take us home. The carts are all packed. The caravan is waiting. Why can't we go, Saroon? Why can't you stop fighting and take us home? For a moment, my brother looked up at me, and his eyes were bewildered and lost, too. Then he shook his head. Because I'm going to enlist, he said, and as a soldier I have to stay on to fight this war. As for going home to plant rice, any woman or child can do that. The ball of clay grew smoother and rounder. You're right, Saroon, I said quietly. Anyone can do that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going home now to plant the next crop of rice. You? Saroon snorted. You and who else? Just me, I answered. I'll take a sack of our own rice seed and our ox cart and join the caravan going to see him reap. And once I'm back home, I will find people to help plant that seed with me. I'll fix up our house, repair the floorboards and the thatching on the roof. I'll tend to the rice fields and feel the raindrops on my skin and listen to the cry of crickets at night. I've had enough of this horrible place, Saroon. I'm leaving. My voice and my hands were trembling, but the ball of clay was very smooth now. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then my mother stepped forward and stood beside me. I'm coming with you, Dara, she said gently. I don't think I can bear to be here much longer either, and without John too, there is no reason to delay our trip anymore. Saroon's mouth dropped. You can't do that, he said. Mother looked at him. Why not? She asked. Saroon turned to Nia. Talk some sense into them, will you? He demanded. They can't take the cart and leave just like that. It's ridiculous. Nia shifted the baby over to her other hip. In the twilight, her tears still shone wet on her cheeks. It's not ridiculous, she said. It's the only sensible thing to do, and I'm going with them and bringing baby with me too. She looked at Grandpa Kem. Are you coming? She asked. Grandpa Kem nodded. Then, without a word, he walked over to his ox cart. It's all ready to go, he said, and I'm ready to go with it. We all watched Saroon. He looked hard at each of us, then at the ox carts. He turned to me, his eyes angry and dazed. I thought I was the head of this family, he said shakily. You can't make decisions like that. You are still the head of the family, I said quietly. The marble was big and heavy in my hand. I kept molding it, my movements deft and sure now. We need you to come home with us, brother. Please come. Saroon stared at me, almost as if I were a stranger to him. For a moment, I thought he was going to turn away, but he was only laying down his gun. With his bare hand outstretched, he walked slowly toward Nia. All right, he told her quietly. The monsoon rains are coming soon. It's time to go home and plow the fields. Wordlessly, Nia took his hands in hers. It was then that I was aware of my own hands, still clenched tightly together. I relaxed and opened up my hands. In the dappled play of light and shadow from the web of sunlit leaves above, it was hard to make out at first what I was holding. Only gradually could I see that cupped in my palm was a perfectly smooth, perfectly round marble. I looked away at John Chu's cupped hand, now empty and lying motionless in the hammock. I did it, John Chu, I told her silently. I made my own magic marble.